Right. Well, I'm not sure if afraid is the right word, but banks should definitely be aware of the situation and understand it. In my opinion, and the way that I've been looking at it, there's a number of things that we need to analyze in order to understand how much or whether we should be afraid of these other fintech competitors. And again, let's keep in mind that Google and Facebook is just the most visible of them. There's a lot of other companies that are trying to get into the fintech space. The question number one is, why did the fintech disruptive innovation industry come about? And even more importantly for me, why did it not come about from within the banks? Why were there companies that were not banks that actually came and start disrupting the way that the banks are doing the business? The second question is how big the impact is going to be of this disruption, how big is the impact of Google, Facebook, and everybody else. And again, we need to understand this impact not by talking about banking as a big abstract thing, but we actually need to break banking down a number of activities. We have lending activities, which include the maturity transformation. My personal opinion, banks there do have a competitive advantage that they need to maintain, and they perform a fundamental role in the economy. Therefore, I personally do not see banks eclipsing from the face of the earth. But banks have also been doing other things, which you could call them quasi-banking activities, like transaction processing, like payments, like consulting, etc., etc. And now it's possibly these other areas, like transaction processing and payments, where banks need to be worried about, because there is where the other firms, now the newcomers, have a competitive advantage, being based on a better data architecture and so on. Lastly, the other question I would like to discuss and understand in order to give a response to this question is, well, what is the actual impact? And on the basis of that, what can banks do? And in terms of what can banks do, there's a number of options that are flying out there. One is to go and buy those fintech startups. That's a good option, but it has its pros and its cons, and we need to be careful that it's not just a question of going to buy something and put it in. The other one can be to create their own spin-offs and try to create their own startups owned by the bank but in a separate legal entity. We've also started seeing that, again with its pros and its cons, and there's a variety of other activities. Only when we put these components together will we be able to come back to the question and give a response, because just like most things, a yes or no answer is usually very, very simplistic.